Happy New Year for those who are here for the first time this year or for the first time. Seeing quite a few new faces and many old faces are not here. It's very cold outside. That's why probably. My name is Rona for those who are here. Welcome. Those who are for the first time, and good thing this new year, starting with promise to to be more aware of our inner world, or to embark maybe on a journey of learning to meditate. But tonight's session is on making, who knows what is the title of tonight? Making big things small. Are there many big things? Yeah. Are there big things to make small, or are there just many small things that we make big? One thing that is useful to understand is that it is possible that our own mind plays lots of tricks on us. And we are generally not taught how to use our mind. We are generally not taught how to train our mind. We are generally not taught how even the mind functions. Not even certain educations that deal with this subject, like psychiatry, for example, or in medicine, hardly time is spent to research or to try and understand how this mind functions. And this art of making big things small, or maybe we should say the art of not making small things big, has to do with a mind that is clean and clear and powerful. Now, we will little bit try and understand these dynamics of the mind tonight and see if it is really possible to make big things small, or if it may be possible that maybe there are not really too many big things, but it's just our mind that make things big. So let's explore a little bit. So when you think of your mind, what do you think of? It's not a rhetorical question. Thoughts, very good. Avoiding the self. What else? Your senses. So what about them? And your feelings. Okay, yeah. Feelings are also product of the mind. Imagination, definitely. Abstract, thinking can be abstract, or do you mean the mind itself is abstract? Consciousness, concerns, concerns. They are certain type of thoughts, no? Are concerns, yeah. Thoughts are a big part of what goes on in our mind. If this is the mind, how would you draw what is happening in there? Too busy. Too busy. Like Penn Station at peak hour, something like that. Just this is always peak hour. Maybe. Okay. Fireworks in between also. Fireworks in between also. So sometimes too quiet and sometimes too noisy. Okay. And so much of that noise is created by thoughts. And I agree, Sonal, there are also feelings and there is there is a certain attitude, your imagination, all of that. But much of it, what is going on here, is in the form of thoughts. Now, who is the creator of these thoughts? Me, isn't it? So who actually is supposed to be the master in this mind? Me. Now, what went wrong? It went. It is like you're creating something and then that creation sit on your head. Isn't it? A little bit. Now, why does that happen and what is going on here, truly? Yeah, certain conditionings from the past. No? But first of all, we are not aware that we have the power to choose. This is how you write it? Choose. The power to choose your thoughts. That is the first thing. And we also many times are not aware that there are a variety of thoughts. Or you could say certain category of thoughts that are there. And that we have the power to choose. Since we are, you could call it boss, isn't it? We are boss in our own mind. So it means we have power to choose. And there is a variety of thoughts. Now, many times we are completely uneducated about all of this. We're not even aware of this. Many times we even just feel that our thoughts kind of happen to us. You have any idea how many thoughts you have in a day? Hmm? 50,000, 60,000. There are studies who have studied this, and this was in the early 80s. They did a lot of studies in psychological and behavioral departments in Harvard on the functioning of the human mind and what happens in this mind. And at that time, this is like 40 years ago, they said it was about 30,000 thoughts in a day. That is 3,000 thoughts, is it? 1,500 thoughts an hour, more or less. That's about 200 something thoughts a minute. Gives you an idea. And this is 40 years ago. This was before your cell phone and before Twitter and the internet. So easily it is doubled at this moment in time. Easily. Now, what are all these 400 thoughts a minute about? What are they about? This is a big thing, no? To do. To do. And another is what to say. And another is what I want, what I need. Now, in those same studies, they also researched what the content of those thoughts, or what kind of words are most used. Which words you think are most used in our culture, and probably in every culture in the world at present? Which are the most used words? Half is good. I. Just I. And another is mine. And depending on the culture, it is I want. A more consumerist culture, it is I want. But it is I and mine. Many of the thoughts. And also the words coming out of our mouth. Now, in a social kind of environment, when people are talking, they observe the conversations people have. And they said that easily people use these words more than 100 times in 15 minutes. I and mine. So if that is what is coming out of our mouth, then what is going inside our mind is even more, no? So it is not only giving you an indication of what our thoughts are about, but it also gives you an indication how self-centered our thinking often is. Our world is very small, and it just revolves around me, myself, and I, and mine. Maybe that is the first thing that we make big. Too big, unnecessarily big. Because if all the time everything in my life revolves around me, then anything that happens also becomes a huge thing. And I lose the comparison and the contrast with whatever else is, and I don't see the bigger context many times. Now, making small things big, what is a manifestation of that? If something that is not really very big, but I make it big, how do I know that? What happens? Yeah. Yes, definitely. What else? Negative feelings? Yeah, even before that. First thing that happens in our mind is there is a connection or an association. And the second thing that happens is I can't stop thinking about it. I can't stop thinking about it. It may be a small thing. My neighbor's dog barks too much. Something like that. It can be, and it can be on your mind the whole time. Even at work, walking in the street, being with your friends, you are telling them. One time there was this, a colleague one time was sharing, he had a patient, and this patient can't stop talking about her cat who jumped out of the window and was 11th floor. So she's talking about this, and possibly before she comes to him, she has talked to many other people already about this cat that jumped out of the window. And then when you ask her, when did it happen? 11 years ago. You know, so it is our mind. I'm not saying for her it might be, there is some close connection there, but 11 years, can't stop thinking about it. And what is in the mind also comes out of the mouth. What is in the mind also creates a lot of feelings inside. This obsessive thinking. So a sign of a mind that is not empowered, a sign of someone who is not in control of the mind, a sign of someone who is not aware of what is going on, is that there are lots of thoughts, and much of those thoughts are cyclical thoughts. They are about the same thing, over and over and over again, or just a few things, over and over and over and over again. And this is a sign of a disempowered mind. It is a sign of someone who might be intelligent, but is not using the intelligence for the inner world. Now, if you think about the same thing over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, how will you feel? Tired, drained, exhausted. There is a difference between reflecting on something or being harassed by it in your mind. There is a difference. Because sometimes there is something that you kind of try to figure out. That's a different thing. Or you're just reflecting on it, see if there are some deeper clues there. And it is something else that you actually don't want to think about it, but it just keeps harassing in the mind. Now, all these thoughts that are going on in this mind also carry with them feelings. Now, every thought in itself is like a world. Every thought carries with it certain feelings. Every thought carries with it certain intentions. Every thought carries with it certain priorities, certain needs, desires. Every thought carries with it or comes with a certain attitude. So these thoughts, they don't wander alone in your mind. They carry with them all kinds of other things. So it gets quite crowded, crowded in there. And we haven't even talked about the content of those thoughts. Now, someone was saying concerns. Can you imagine a day where 30,000 thoughts only, we'll leave it at 30,000. 30,000 thoughts, and they are majority thoughts of concern. How will you feel? Disastrous. How will you feel? What will be the energy that you spread around and the vibrations that you are spreading around? Thoughts of concern. Yeah. Negative, heavy. Now other people can run away from you, but you cannot run away from yourself. You'll have to put up with this mind all the time. A mind like that, will it be possible to easily sleep and have very nice rested sleep? It will take long time for it to calm down, if at all it calms down. And what do we do to try and get it to calm down? Think of something else, or try and get distracted by putting on the television. Few more new thoughts. So it gets more crowded in there. This is how we many times deal with our mind. Now, if you would categorize your thoughts, how can we categorize our thoughts? What kind of thoughts? Productive and non-productive. Very good. Those are two things. But is that all? Are there any other kinds of thoughts? Are they either productive or non-productive, and that's it? Positive and negative? Habitual thoughts, cyclical thoughts? Definitely. Motivational thoughts, those are kind of positive thoughts. Is there any other thing? Fear, that would fall in negative thoughts. Negative, or maybe even further than negative, destructive thoughts. Yeah, you could say useful thoughts or constructive thoughts or thoughts of organization. Yeah. Neutral thoughts is a good word. Facts can be anything, no? Can be in a negative category, can be a positive category, can be neutral category, depending on. Yeah. Inquisitive thoughts, yeah, very good. Exploring things, trying to understand things, thoughts inspired by curiosity. Any other kinds of thoughts going on in the New York mind? Lots of thoughts to think about thoughts. Very good. Thoughts about past, present and future. Very good. Yeah. And they could fall in any of those categories, no? They could be destructive, they could be useless thoughts. That is another nice word, useless thoughts. Or non-productive is a bit sophisticated word for it, but they can be just useless thoughts. Uh, they can be positive thoughts, they can be even, that is another area which is very uncommon, they can be elevated thoughts or spiritual thoughts, or noble thoughts, which is a kind of positive thought, but it's a bit higher than just constructive or positive thought. Now, which of these kinds of thoughts you think are roaming around most? Useless thoughts. When I first heard this about the thoughts and the functioning of the mind, I used to think I'm quite okay. And it's other people who are the problem, but I am quite okay. Everybody else needs to change a little bit, then the world will be okay. But when I heard this and I started to observe my own mind, I was kind of, taken aback. How much of the thoughts that are going on in this mind are useless. And a mind that has lots of useless thoughts is a mind that becomes weak. Now, if you take your hand or your arm and you make useless movements with it, what will happen? You will get tired and weak and it doesn't. You will start feeling useless also, doing useless movements. So in the same way, inside also. Now, if we have a lot of useless thinking, our decision power weakens. Our just general power of mind weakens. But on top of that, useless thinking becomes a habit, becomes a strong habit. It gets normalized after a while. And after a while, you don't know anything else anymore. And that becomes like a downward spiral, easily. A mind like that makes anything big. Anything becomes a problem. Anything becomes a big issue. Now, one easy way to come out of this is to begin to become aware of those different kind of thoughts and begin to choose different category of thoughts. This is very nice comment of Mani, inquisitive thoughts. Instead of always focusing on problems and concerns, just to shift it a little bit, how could I think about this situation differently? One way to call it is adventurous thinking, or this popular term these days, out of the box thinking. Think differently. Try and see it from a different perspective. Try and see it from a different angle. Then we are as if training our mind and using our mental powers to be creative with life and with life's situations. And if you do that, feelings that you will have about yourselves will be better already. Now, just imagine, one thought with all of these tails, and then there are 30,000 roaming around. It's going to be very difficult to be creative. It's going to be very difficult, a mind like that, to feel peace. for example. Now, what can we do to be free from this? What can we do to be free from this obsessive, useless thinking? Start to let it go. How do you do that? Be aware of the... Let us take a simple example. This chair. I am creating obsessively thoughts about this chair all the time. My chair, no one should touch that chair. No one should go sit on that chair. Every time I go away from here, I'm scared that when I come back, it might not be there. When I go to the apartment, I may think, oh, somebody might take my chair. And all night I pass with anxiety because my chair, and I get released one morning, at least it is still there. But some other people are also looking at that chair, and I think, oh, maybe they want to take my chair. Chair, 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 chair. And this goes on day after day after day after day. Now, what can I do? I'm making a silly example, but chair can be anything. Chair can also be anyone. Then it becomes already a little bit more what can I do to stop that thinking? Redirect thoughts. Very good. Yeah. Practice not being with my obsess. That is one way, yes, to kind of in a, very physical way create distance. That sometimes does not fully work. At least kind of we think if long enough you don't see it, then maybe thoughts will get into another direction. That is one way to create physical distance, but sometimes that is not possible. Become less attached to it. So how do I become less attached to this chair? But then I get attached to that other thing now, and then now my cyclical thoughts are on that thing. It's just substitute. That is still not self-mastery, isn't it? Even if that other thing or person is superior, it still means I am not boss inside here. Very good, very good. Yeah. Very good. There is somehow behind, there is a sense of mine, a sense of possession, and a sense of identification. Because why is this chair so important for me? Because deeper inside, somehow I feel it adds to who I am. Somehow deeper inside it feels to a sense of identity or a sense of value or a sense of importance. Or just maybe a sense of existence because I have something. No? But that means deeper inside I don't feel value for self. So I need this to feel valuable. And remember, this can also be a person. Now, So deeper inside, we have to ask ourselves, is all of that true? That we get trapped and sucked into this obsessive thinking about things because deeper behind we identify or we feel a sense of value based on those things, and we get trapped in that. And it becomes, somehow it comes out of some sense of emptiness. Now, maybe we could address that. Then this chair doesn't become such a big thing in my mind. And then chair is nice, no chair is also nice. Isn't that a healthier relationship with the chair? Chair is okay, nice, good. But without chair doesn't mean the end of my life, or the end of me, or the end of the world, or that is what is true freedom like. We love to be free, and we love to talk about freedom, but true freedom is really this. Free to think what I think is useful to think about, free to think thoughts that are empowering, free to be free from useless, cyclical, repetitive, obsessive thinking about the chair. Now, how did we get into that trap of chair, thinking about chair, 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 chair? How did this chair become so big in my mind?
When you talk about chair as objects, people also. So the same example, sometimes it's easier to do when the object doesn't have emotions, and with people, make example for that. How do you, when certain attachment is mutually built over time? My friend, my employee, my significant other. How do you detach when the whole essence of the relationship is?
We can first start with chair. That is easier. At least get the dynamics clear. If we get the dynamics clear, then we can also use it in other areas where we might not be so clear. But let's explore a healthy relationship with this chair. It is also not personal, no? If it is chair. So I come here, I come in, and I see this chair. And I say, nice chair. I appreciate the chair. But I also appreciate the light. I also appreciate other chair. I appreciate things there, and I appreciate all of you, and I appreciate that there is a bathroom, and I appreciate chair. Nice. You appreciate the whole scene that is there. No? So I like, it is nice, I appreciate. You have even maybe a sense of gratitude because it is nice extra scene, a nice extra experience. What comes next? Not yet, we're not there yet. Feelings? You say, this is nice. This is not yet. That is not. We're not yet there. This is everything. Everything is nice, but then your eyes falls on this chair. You say, "This is nice." I don't have a chair like that at home. This one is very nice. So I say, very nice. I really, really like this chair. And what is the next step? I want. And this is where this chair becomes big in my mind. From nice, appreciating, observing, interacting, enjoying, using, we move to very nice, extra nice, really, really nice, and then I want. The moment I cross this line, I lose my freedom. Now this chair is in charge of my happiness. I'm exaggerating, but you understand what I mean. Before I was okay with anything and everything, but now I want this chair. And so with that I want comes a sense of insecurity. This chair ceases to be extra. And now it becomes something I want. And also now my attention gets on that. And my concentration gets on that. And other things I am not paying so much attention to anymore. My vision and my perspective becomes narrow. And my concentration on other things, I came here for the talk, but now part of my attention is on that chair, so not on the talk. This now is capable of distracting me from what I came here to do. It is also distracting me from appreciating and enjoying whatever else I was doing, because now this thing is pulling. And if I continue with this spiral, then a thought will come. This chair will look so good in my apartment. If I could get this chair, then I could sit and meditate. My meditation will be better now if I have this chair. And it will up the value of the rest of my apartment, and my friends will now be more happy to come and visit. All kinds of thoughts will come to justify why I should want this. The more I do this want now changes into excellent. I need. Just this means further in jail. Just means further in the trap. This happens in New York City? No. We are I need. And more I need, I will also try to think of ways to get it. So my distraction now is even more. There were so many other things I could think about and see and enjoy and do, but now not only my thoughts are focused on that, I start to now also using my creativity and all my concentration, how to get this chair now. Because I want to use this other word, mine. I need to own this. Now with this spiral, this also increases. Because I might not get it. And also the longer I don't have it, more insecure. But not only that, Sonal and I are good friends. No? But now she is also looking at my chair. So I thought she was my friend, but now she also looking at my chair. So the feelings of friendship now comes mixed in with some kind of feeling of not so friendly. So I get further trapped now in this chair. And not only that, I'm losing my friends because of this chair. Then someone else, Gautam, comes in and he says, Rona, what funny chair you have there. That chair is not a nice chair. What will I think now? Why is he criticizing my chair? I take offense and I feel insulted. Why? Because deeper inside, I am identifying now with it. And I feel this chair is part of me. And even further down the madness, I start to think this chair is me. So anyone who says anything about this chair says something about me. Now this chair has become huge and occupies the whole of my mind. And I can't think of anything else anymore. And anybody not praising this chair is my enemy. You understand? All of this madness goes on inside here. There was a time when I did not even know about this chair. I wasn't born with this chair. But I have fallen into this trap that my whole being is just obsessively only thinking about this chair. Making small things big. But this is jail, this is mental jail. You can't stop thinking about it. And all these other things, feelings and emotions, they are also all connected with the chair. Now somebody scratches the chair. What happened? This is like declaration of war. Or big depression. Because I feel damaged and I feel hurt. This is what can happen in our mind. And there are so many other chairs even. And no chair is fine. There was a time when I was with no chair and I was just fine. But now I have put myself in this jail that this has become everything.
You use the word identification.
Yeah.
So basically in this process, the moment you go from this appreciating all towards identifying with it, that's the
Trap.
trap.
Because I give away my power. And this is now the worst relationship because it means this chair decides how I feel. And what others say and do to this chair decides how I feel. It means I am dependent. I am a victim. Others and this thing decide my inner world. This is like jail. The worst relationship we can have with this chair. Now, in a healthy relationship, there will be a very clear sense of self-value. There will be a very clear sense of self even. And there will be healthy feelings of my own existence as a being of consciousness. And this is extra chair. Nice. Appreciating. Maybe we need to understand this word own a little better. Ownership. We have created a society and a culture that believes in ownership. Not only believes, vows by ownership. Can we, if you truly, objectively observe life, can we truly, really own anything? What is the definition of own? Permanently yours. It means you can never ever lose it. Now, does this chair fall in that category? So part of our wrong relationship to this chair, but also wrong relationship maybe to the world, is this illusion of ownership. Problem is we also do this with people. It is not truly necessary for the other or for that other thing to feel like that, for me to feel like that. It would be nice, but it truly is not essential. For me to not fall in this trap, it is only useful for me to have that attitude of not owning anything. Mm. Mm. It is not anything. Mm. 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 No. Maybe that is the original state, and we're just returning to what is natural. No, we came in this room, we were okay. Now we're in this trap. Just returning to the natural state by being free. And if I am free internally, who will benefit from that? Exactly. So it is truly in the benefit of everyone, not getting trapped in this. Ultimately. But just to come back to this thing, to deeper reflect, no, we have fallen into this kind of ignorant behavior and thinking pattern of wanting to own. thinking that we need to own, whilst in reality, everything in this world is temporary, isn't it? Now, if it is temporary, it doesn't mean you cannot enjoy. If it is temporary, it doesn't mean you cannot use the chair. If it is temporary, it doesn't mean you cannot decide, oh, this is useful or not. But to not go into this trap of own. And to not go into the trap of needing. So, in this position of freedom, choices will be made on what is useful and what is beneficial for everyone involved. Now, if this chair goes to the apartment, only one person will be able to benefit from it. If it is here, so many others will be benefiting from it. So it is much more useful, it stays right here. Understand what I'm trying to say? So the choices will not be made from that petty ego desiring perspective, but choices will be based on what is beneficial and useful for others, everyone involved. And I don't get trapped in this petty ego game of I want, I need, because then I will be great or better. Now, is it possible to hold this attitude? Especially in a society, in a world where this is uncommon. Especially in a culture where this is promoted. And on a superficial level, your value and your importance and your success is judged based on what you own. Can we leave small things small, not make them big? Now, what should be this positioning? What could help us internally? Who in this world, or maybe even you, in what phase were your life, or what activity were you involved in when you had that kind of an attitude? Mm-hmm. Very good. Knowing true self and valuing true self. Accepting that that everything is temporary. And in what kind of activity make us naturally be in that state? Very good. When we play. When we play games, when we play sport, in the attitude of the game, we have that attitude. Unless you are paid by some whatever, become a pro, then the attitude shifted. But just generally, when we play, we have that attitude. We do our best, we give everything, we see what is right, we know the rules. But at the end, that kind of attitude. I don't need to own this or have this or win this to be someone. So could we have more a playful attitude towards life? I don't need to own anything or have anything, but doesn't mean I can play with it. And there is another activity when we have naturally this attitude. You know? Anyone knows? When you travel, say you go to Greece or to Rome, do you say, oh, this Vatican City is mine? When you visit, but in general, this is when you visit somewhere. You have this attitude. Even you come here, you visit, you enjoy it, is nice, whatever, but you don't hopefully get into the mindset, my chair. But when we travel, we have this attitude. You appreciate, you see the ocean and wow, you see that attitude. And this is a healthier attitude than this. Now, spiritual knowledge reminds us that we are actually travelers through time. Spiritual knowledge tells us that we actually are visitors on this planet. Visitors. Even this body is not really mine. No, it belongs to nature. And I can use it for time. If we get more back into this play mindset, this visiting mindset, this traveling mindset, it will free us from all those obsessive thoughts and this jail. And even if we are just free, maybe 1/3, that would be huge. Space getting freed up here for some more creative, constructive, positive, elevated thinking, new ideas. Just imagine what would not be possible if all these cyclical thoughts going on all the time were not there. And you had that mental energy and mental space for higher thoughts. Now, true intelligence, spiritual intelligence, means you see through things and you begin to recognize what truly is valuable. Your sanity of mind or the chair? Yeah. Now we, in this kind of clouded state of mind, when we do not have clear what is true value, we get so trapped and so stuck. And our inner treasures and our powers also get stuck. And we lose the game of life. And we get into concerns, into, what is this word? Complaints, anxiety, insecurity, criticizing, what is it? Blaming, being a victim, mistrusting everything and everyone. We lose out. We ourselves lose out. And because we lose out and feel like that, we also make life of others miserable. And we get into this downward spiral. That's not very clever, and maybe that's not what we were meant to be. And maybe that's not what we are here for in the first place. but we got trapped. Want to say anything? Mm. Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I understand what you mean. There are two ways to learn. Generally, human beings learn in two ways. You know? What are those two ways? One way is through wisdom, which is the elegant way. The other way is through pain. Pain. And for most of us, it's a little bit of both. For some of us, it's more pain, whatever. But yes, it is actually as simple as that. To clearly see truth and see the facts of life, see a bigger perspective. No? But if I don't, then I will one day cannot hold on to this ego anymore, because it will just not be there anymore. But then I will be crushed if I haven't taken myself out of that limited perspective. You wanted to say something? Yeah, understood. Theoretically, it is the same basic positioning. Being clear that every moment is extra, and every moment is a gift, and every interaction is a gift. And we can choose to have a certain commitment, but I cannot demand or expect. Because then true love, which has freedom, becomes a bondage and a jail. And I agree that this is not overly common these days. But that is because the missing link, I think, in society is these deeper spiritual understandings. And we jump in and out relationships so easily without even properly, personally being prepared for that. The sacredness of something like marriage has been lost. And I know this is a bold statement, but I do feel it is true. And marriage is one thing. There are so many other relationships before we even come to marriage. We need to take our interactions, give it more true value. Otherwise we get trapped. And nobody sets out to be trapped. And nobody sets out to hurt. Nobody sets out to hate. But we end up like that. Hurt and hated and whatever else is there. Because we are not even clear about who we ourselves are. And then we get lost in the obsession about chair. Keeping it more neutral. Understand? And our whole sense of identity becomes the other person. That is unhealthy, and it is also unfair to the other person, because it means the other person now is completely in charge of my happiness. Now that person was not born to be in charge of my happiness, and is not even necessarily choosing to be in charge, but I give that power. And then anything they do or not do, what is not according, then I am in a depression. This is not love, this is jail. And then I blame, and then love is finished. No, all divorces and people in court and whatever, one day they loved. And they made vow and whatever. But where did it end up? So, of course, those kinds of relationships are part of human dynamics. But we need to first get ourselves sorted out inside properly before entering into those. I feel. I feel there's only one true way, and that is explore spiritual wisdom and the power of meditation. There is lots to learn in that area. And we know lots of things, many things, but how our mind functions and how our inner world is, we have no clue many times, or not enough. But it will require that I am curious about it. But it sounds bigger than it is also. It just starts with one simple thing, and that is observing my own mind. What is going on in my mind? Are these thoughts useful, useless, obsessive, constructive? Can I introduce thoughts that are more useful? Can I introduce thoughts that are more positive? Can I introduce thoughts that are more noble and elevated? Can I begin to look at myself as a spiritual being using this body? A spiritual being on a journey. Yeah, of course. Yeah. But this is where I said some spiritual wisdom is required, and study of that, and observing of that. That is why what the Brahma Kumaris teaches is a combination of spiritual knowledge and meditation exercises, because we do need both. Because some wisdom is required, and growing in that wisdom is very useful. But also, taking decisions and what is useful or useless or positive or negative is also in the context of what is your aim. And so to learn to be, to be more clear for yourself what is aim and what is my aim in life. What is my aim with this life? Because our choices and what is useful and not useful is also defined in the context of that aim. To be more clear about that also. Okay. Thank you for a very lively exploration. But another maybe final simplifying thought is the Raj Yoga perspective, the spiritual perspective is that we are intrinsically whole. We are beings who are full, and our potential is highest, but we get sidetracked. So this word human being, there is the human part, the physical, and there is the being. And this being, this word has many different names: soul and spirit, being of consciousness, or just plain consciousness. That every one of us is innately a complete being. Being of peace, being with the potential to be infinitely loving and joyful and happy and free. A being that is secure, a being that is timeless, a being that transcends the limitations of matter. And this being is the guest or a visitor. This being is a traveler in this world. But we forget our true nature. And we don't live in the awareness of that true nature. And we get trapped in the chair. And then our whole world becomes the chair. And so this journey back, or return journey, is to become aware again of the self as this being and experience again our fullness, our innate higher nature. As a being of light, a being of peace, a being of consciousness, a being of purity, a being of love. And to allow that seed that is there in each one of us to sprout again, to nourish again, to grow, and to live from that. And then the chair is nice, extra gift. But I don't need it to be a peaceful soul. But that is a journey inwards, a journey of self-discovery, a journey of exploration, a journey of experimentation, which this is an invitation for you. And many of you are already on that journey also. Aditi, you had a question? Mm-hmm. Yeah. In reality, if we look at it neutrally and with the facts, it is not. And maybe those feelings of ownership might be standing in the way, actually, of true healthy, true loving. Might be even. Okay, so shall we close with a few minutes of relaxation exercise? You ask him to just wait for a minute, not leave, because it will make a lot of noise. We allow ourselves to, just for a few moments, completely relax. Relax the feet and the legs, the hands, the arms, the shoulders. Let the breathing be natural. And just for a moment, appreciate consciously the body. Such a precious vehicle for the inner being, the soul. And I just consciously become aware of this present moment and the one who is experiencing everything. The one who is experiencing the body, the one who is experiencing life in general. The one who is trying to make sense out of everything. The one who is creating thoughts and feelings. The inner being. And it might help to use the image of a tiny star in the center of the forehead behind the eyes. Light, or more like a presence. The soul. And I become aware of this more subtle energy of my own being. And reminding that this real self is a visitor, a traveler, a being of light, traveling through all the different experiences and the different scenes of the drama of life. But the being of consciousness is the constant factor. Everything else may change, but I remain the experiencer. Tiny, invisible traveler, being of light. innately free, innately peaceful. And as we go through the rest of the journey, we aim to remind ourselves from time to time that we are these invisible travelers playing the game of life. Allowing the self to rediscover the beauty and the greatness of my own being. Thank you. Thank you. For those who are here for the first time, we have these sessions every Thursday, so most welcome. On the desk there is the program, and if you want to receive it in your email, you could leave your email address, you get the programs. But the center is here for you to use, and most welcome anytime, even if you just want to sit in silence upstairs in the meditation room. During our opening hours, the meditation room is open and available. And the sisters will offer you some sweet, prepared in a meditative state of consciousness as a gift for everyone. Okay. Have a good evening.